Hi, this is Monica from Huckleberry Mountain Botanical School of Herbalism, and I'm here with Linde, my daughter. She's actually one of my students, even though she's been helping me for several years now with a lot of my herbal stuff. So today I decided to do, I actually was going to do something else, but I thought it was maybe too controversial. Maybe it's something I'll do later. Now it's mysterious and you'll have to come. But anyway, first I want to just talk a little bit because it kind of takes some people time to get here. Yesterday, Linde and I went on, well, I don't know, a walk down to our creek.
Well, walk. It's kind of like a hike.
It's a hike.
Because we live on a mountain. So it was steep, it was wooded, it was, yeah.
Yeah, I even got...
Hi, Kana.
Oh, hi, Kana. I even, because things have actually been really dry. Hi, Tiffany. Haven't seen you in a long time. Because it's actually fairly dry here right now, where our swamp is normally really swampy and wet, it was actually pretty dry, which is sad in some ways, but in other ways kind of nice for me, because I could go out into the swamp and not worry about losing a leg or something, you know? I'm just like, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was neat. There was a lot of fun things growing there, and all I could think the whole time I was walking was, oh, I've got to bring my herbal students down this far and this far and this far until we got all the way to the water. And I was like,
which took us about like, what, an hour, 45 minutes?
Yeah, about an hour.
We were walking kind of slow, but.
Right, because you're looking at all the plants. So
yeah.
I don't consider it walking slow. It's an observational walk is what it is. I know, I kind of drive Linde crazy sometimes.
It was pretty slow.
Because we go on a hike and I'm stopping every like 2 steps to, oh, what's this? Oh, what's this? And so she's like, this isn't really a hike. I don't want to go hike. So I say, hey, let's go on a hike. And she's like, really? Is it going to be a hike or is it going to be a plant walk?
Well, that's why walking through like Sandpoint is so fun.
You know? Well, right, because I walk.
Yeah.
Although I do find plants there too.
But I still enjoy hiking with you.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to make today is an herbal salt. We're going to use some fresh herbs as I'm like mashing my lovage around here. I'm like playing with it, whipping myself. This is not stinging nettle. I would not be doing that. And so making some fresh herb salt, and then also making some nettle chips and some plantain chips. So with this herbal salt, really quick, this is super, super simple. If you can even get some fresh herbs from the store if you don't have anything growing in your garden or growing near you, or things that you can wildcraft. But this you can add so many things. I'm going to be adding a little bit of nettle. I'm going to have Linde put that in there because she has the gloves on. Mm-hmm. A little bit of nettle, some lovage, which if you have not tasted lovage, it is honestly, it tastes like celery. It really does. It tastes like celery tops. It has that nice, fresh, celeric type flavor. And so it'll create a nice, I don't know, flavorful salt. The other thing I'm going to put in here is wild chives. I have a ton of wild chives growing all over in my herb garden, so I decided why not. The one warning I'm going to give you about chives before you go putting them into your blender or into your food processor is to chop them up a little. I didn't do that the first time, and so I ended up, because they're not fibrous, but you know what I'm talking about. They've got that kind of fiber-like thing. And so getting them chopped up before you put them in there helps them to break down in the salt a little bit better. So the amount of fresh herbs we'll be using is a ½ cup, and that's a ½ cup of fresh herb to 1 cup of salt. Recommending you use a high quality salt. Don't go cheap. I mean, there's no point in putting nice, tasty, delicious, nutritious herbs in a crappy salt. Yeah. All right, so I'm just gonna put some of these in here. In the meantime, Linde will kind of pull apart some of these nettle. And we had a lot of fun the other day. With my students, we made some nettle chips. We went out and wildcrafted a bunch of them from my pile down there. I have some in my garden too, and these are actually from my garden today.
Speaking of that, while I was harvesting these, I discovered that I was standing on an anthill. And my foot was covered in ants.
She claimed it was her worst nightmare, which if that's her worst nightmare, then
well, maybe not my worst nightmare.
That's not a pretty bad. That's not that bad.
Well, it's pretty bad, and being covered in ants. Like, I swear, ever since I saw that, what was it, Indiana Jones movie, when I was like 8, where that person.
Ants?
Yeah, well, there's those gigantic ants. You know, like, does anybody know
Wasn't
what
that a spider? No.
No, were they
Am I thinking of something else?
No, they were like big giant ants, and they dragged this guy. Like, they covered him up, but they were big, and then they dragged him into their hole.
Okay, wow.
I remember it very,
It's intense.
very vividly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
I'm not going to pack it too much. So I've got my half a cup of my fresh herb, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in here. And then add 1 cup of, like I said, use decent salt. I have this nice pink Himalayan salt. All right, last time I made this, I used my blender. So I'm using the food processor this time. We'll see how it goes. It's going to be kind of loud. And I'm going to just kind of keep checking it along the way, make sure things are breaking down. Because you really want it to be.
Kana remembers the giant ants.
All right, Kana.
Yes.
I don't know. I guess
I'm not the only one.
When you children are younger, it's terrifying, and for us, we're kind of like, oh, that wouldn't happen.
Okay.
So now you're grown-ups, and you shouldn't scare you that bad. Okay, so here it's nice. It's totally incorporated. I don't know if you can see it, but it's got that nice green. When I was making it earlier, I thought, you know what? Putting rose petals in here and maybe some citrus would be really nice.
Yeah.
Okay, at this point, you want to lay out some parchment and then lay it out and let it dry for a few hours. It should be completely dry. If you find that there's a lot of chunks in there, you can put it back in the food processor and process it a little more, because now you'll be dealing with dry herbs instead.
This is stuff that we did a few hours ago.
And there are
you
some
can
chunks.
See it's nice and powdered, or like just regular salt, not stuck together.
Right.
So you can easily sprinkle it. And
and you just put it into a little jar. Make sure that there's going to be no moisture getting in there. But that's part of the reason why you're letting it sit out, is because you want it to get dry. Okay, so that's a really, really super simple way to use fresh herbs and make that nice, tasty herbal salt, which we are going to use for making our chips. Okay, let me talk to you about identification, just so you know what you're dealing with. Stinging nettles, I think I went over that last time, but what I'm really going to talk about today is plantain. There are 2 types that grow here, and that's Plantago major and Plantago lanceolata. And that, I'll show you the 2 different leaves here. Wait. Try and put it against myself. Okay, so you'll have to hold them from the top, I think, because they're kind of, okay. So the lanceolata is that lance-shaped.
or this one.
Yeah, the lance-shaped. And you'll notice that it has these veins that kind of come from the base of the plant all the way up to the tip. They do have other veins that come across as well, but the ones you can really see are those long strips from the base. As they mature, they will get a lot more fibrous. And so it's interesting when you try to pull like a leaf off of that fiber, or a leaf off, the fiber will just, hey Cheryl, I see you.
Hello.
So it'll be like, you'll pull it and you'll see strings either left behind or coming out with it. So it is better to get it when they're immature if you're going to use it for food, which is what we're going to do today. I don't want to be eating fibrous chips. The major there is just fatter, and it has that same ribbing, that same vein that comes from the base all the way to the top. And that's one of the best ways you can identify plantain. Okay, we can be done now. And also with plantain, once it starts going and growing a stalk, you'll see that these long, slender stalks, and at the top, these little, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a descriptive name for them. They kind of look like a fat Q-tip at the top. The lanceolata has a shorter one, and they're actually edible as well. And then the major is a little bit longer and a little bit more sparse. Some people eat it like a little, mini corn on the cob or something. I've never done that, but You can. And you can saute them as well. Okay, so now that we've talked about identification, I'm gonna show you how to make these chips, and you guys, they're so easy. I tell you that all the time because, you know, using herbs and grabbing herbs and coming in and cooking or using them is really, really simple. Now with the plantain, I'm using these smaller leaves. So again, when I pull them apart, you don't see all those strings. If I used the mature ones, you would see some strings coming out. These have a quite bitter taste. And so like Linde was saying, she said if, you know, these would be great, these chips would be great to serve before meals, especially for people who need that little extra bitter boost, which is most people.
Yeah.
And if they don't like salad or they don't want to take the actual bitters, serving it as chips kind of makes it
it's more tasty and a little bit more, I don't know.
It's like a junk food.
Like
you can totally sneak these in with kids probably.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Now the method to making the chips is the same for both the plantain and the nettles. So with the nettles though, my recommendation is do it in a bag. And the reason why is because you kind of want to mix that oil around. And it is a lot tougher because now you're dealing with sting and you don't want to have your gloves covered in oil.
Plus, if you just kind of like massage it, the neutralizing juices from inside the nettle will come out and it won't be able to sting you anymore. So
yeah, and it smashes the stingers. It
Exactly.
makes it so they're not active anymore. Also, when you cook nettle, it's going to deactivate that sting, so you don't have to worry about it. One of my herbal students was actually afraid to try the nettle chips because, you know, it's got a sting and she didn't want that sting in her mouth, but she was like, oh, I don't have a sting. Bye, Cheryl. Thanks for coming. So anyway, when you have it, it doesn't need that much oil, and I actually put too much oil on these plantain leaves. But once you have the oil on there, you want to lay them on a baking sheet, single layer. You don't want them touching because they're not going to get that nice crispiness that you want for a chip. The one thing about the plantain is they're a little bit thicker, so they're a little more substantive, I think. Whereas the nettle chips, they're almost melt in your mouth.
Yeah, they
it's like
melt. I personally prefer the nettle chips because they're just so
melty.
Yeah.
And the other thing about the nettle chips is that they're very green tasting, but they don't have that bitterness that the plantain will have. I think it's a good combination, serving both the plantain and the nettle chips together. So anyway, I'm laying these out, like you can see, on a single layer. And then I'm gonna have Linde go ahead and lay out the nettle chips. And I'm not going to have you guys sit through this entire thing while we're waiting. It only takes between 10 and 20 minutes depending on your oven and depending on, you know, how thick your plants are and things to get to that kind of crisp stage. I'm going to show you though in how they're done because we made some earlier. While Lindy's laying that out, I'll show you. Okay, so here are the finished chips. And they really are just crunchy. Listen. Crisp crunch. And then our nettles, our nettle chips are just, you're just melting your mouth. They're so good. They really are. And we put the herb salt on top. So you just lay them out in a single layer, and then you'll just sprinkle some salt on there. Don't put a lot, because they are thin. If you put too much salt, it's just not, it's not good.
Like I made those a little salty.
Then you're just eating salt, which, yeah, we don't want that much salt. Okay, so we have these laid out. I'm gonna take my finished stuff.
That's the finished stuff.
Oh, this isn't finished. She switched it on me.
I did.
Wow, she's fast. Okay. The one thing is, if it's not completely finished, it's okay because you are putting it in the oven and this will dry. So, you know, you can do both right away. Oh yeah, plantain seeds. Yeah, they're difficult to gather on our smaller ones, but the stems are really nice to eat with the seeds in them. The one that we are all used to is the Plantago psyllium, which is the psyllium husks that we have. And those have very large, very robust seed areas, and that just allows them to pull those seeds off. So that's what we're I think most familiar with when we think about the seeds. But the seeds are highly nutritious. Kind of like dandelion seeds, they are too, but again, gathering is a pain. All right, so you're gonna put this in an oven anywhere between 250 and 300. My oven tends to run a little bit low, so I put mine on 300. And then just leave it in there for about 10 minutes. Just watch them, watch, and you'll be able to tell if they're gonna get crispy. Do remember that they will crisp up a little bit more as they cool, kind of like cookies or brownies or whatever. They'll continue that little bit of cooking. So you don't want them to be turning black or brown or anything.
No, they really shouldn't change color.
They should still be that greenish.
And if you look at, so here.
Yeah, I mean,
let me grab this one.
That's still green, right?
I have a fresh one. They're essentially the same color. There's no browning going on or anything. So
yeah, and it's the same thing with the plantain. It's very green. So make sure that you're taking it out when it's not too late. Okay, so I think that is all we're gonna do today. Just gonna do the salt and these chips. And if you make the chips, let me know. These are really, really good. And honestly, they're addictive. We made, I don't know, 5, 6 trays on Saturday with my herbal students. And I think all of it was gone by the time everybody left because everyone was just snacking the whole time. It's a great way to get vitamins and minerals. And, stinging nettle is a blood builder. It's very nourishing herb, so it's a great way to get that in as well. I think an easy way to get kids to eat their vitamins and minerals, right? Because everybody likes chips. All right. Sorry, talking with my mouth full. So I will be back again on Tuesday. I'll put this recipe. Thursday. I'll put this recipe on my free content. And do remember, if you're interested in getting deeper into herbalism, then I do have an online program. And not only do I cover things like this, but I get really in depth on a lot of herbs and using preparations and body systems and things like that. So until next time, health and joy.